For my first course presentation, I chose the topic of criminal psychology. What is criminal psychology? Criminal psychology is the study of the thoughts and behaviors of criminals. What do criminal psychologists do? They profile, consult, assess, testify in court, perform psychotherapy, and even teach. Going further into their job, profiling is not what we see on TV. It is more of the psychologist sitting at desks looking at files. They don't go out to different stations and give a profile to help find the killer. Most of the job is looking at data and research relevant to the case. Criminal psychologists will consult with other law enforcement and with certain parts of their case. They will give the law enforcement information that will help and will help ask the proper questions during an interrogation. Assessment is a very important part of the job. It determines the criminal's state of mind through psychological testing. For example, a psychologist may have to determine if the criminal is stable enough to stand trial and if their characteristics fit the alleged crime. Criminal psychologists can conduct research that has far-reaching implications on the study of criminology and the legal process. Criminal psychologists have performed research on memory, eyewitness testimony, evidence collection, and confessions that have impacted how law enforcement proceed in legal cases. Criminal psychologists have appeared in court to provide an eyewitness testimony. Some psychologists' entire job is based on giving an expert opinion. Their judgments are based on testing they have conducted or through analyzing assessments and evidence provided to them from other professionals. Psychotherapy may have to be provided by a criminal psychologist. The psychologist will help their client cope with the consequences of criminal behavior and assist them in their rehabilitation so they can be productive members of society. A criminal psychologist can teach at a college level in the psychology or criminal justice department. They can also teach courses or present seminars at law enforcement training facilities. Many people will often mix up criminal and forensic psychology, but there are a few distinctions. If you think of profiling, then you are thinking about criminal psychology. Most assessments are done by forensic psychologists. However, criminal psychologists can perform assessments, though their assessments tend to focus more on research and data and determining the psychological makeup of criminals. Lastly, a final distinction is that forensic psychologists will work with all types of legal matters, while criminal psychologists focus solely on criminal matters. Criminal psychologists spend their time in an office or court, although some may spend their time at crime scenes or jails. Some work for government agencies such as the police or FBI, but others have their own practice and work as consultants for law enforcement. On average, a criminal psychologist will earn a salary of about $93,000. That is more than most careers in the psychology field. Their salary, though, largely depends on where they work and their duties. If they work for an agency, they will make less than if they worked as a private consultant. To become a criminal psychologist, an undergraduate degree in psychology is needed, and then you need to seek a graduate education. A GPA of 3.0 or higher is needed to gain entry to a graduate program. Also, note that criminal psychology is not recognized as an area of specialization by the American Psychological Association. That means you are not going to be able to receive an APA-approved graduate degree in criminal psychology. And then after college, although you can find work with a master's degree, finding a job as a criminal psychologist usually requires a doctorate. There are many famous, there are many big names in the criminal psychology field, including Hugo Munsterberg, Thomas Bond, David Cantor, Saul Kassin, and John Douglas. Hugo Munsterberg was an early pioneer in the field of criminal psychology. Munsterberg published On the Witness Stand, which is a collection of essays that pointed out the lack of reliability in witness testimonies. He revealed how psychological variables can interfere with evidence at trials. Thomas Bond. He is widely believed to be the first profiler. He was a physician who examined the evidence of victims believed to be killed by Jack the Ripper. He made certain conclusions about the psychological and physical makeup of the murderer. David Cantor. David Cantor helped the British police solve the railway rapist case in the 1980s. He is believed to be the first person to use profiling to solve murders in England. He is also credited with creating investigative psychology, which combines the psychological profiling and evidence from empirical scientific study. Saul Kassin. Kassin studied false confessions, which are now used internationally to determine the validity of police interrogation and the confession process. John Douglas. Douglas became famous working in the FBI's serial crime unit. He was a profiler who worked on several high-profile serial cases. He was the model for Jack Crawford in Silence of the Lambs. Why is criminal psychology important? Criminal psychology is important because it ensures that the people responsible for a crime will be charged in an accurate and ethical way. Through their invaluable work, criminal psychologists assist law enforcement in apprehending responsible parties and help further educate about the criminal mind.